speaking of Nick Saban, the guy who is called Nick from time to time, I continue to be fascinated by his position on the decision of the Miami Dolphins in March 2006 to not sign Drew Brees. He talked about it again yesterday. And as we get farther and farther removed from 2006, the story becomes more and more specific on this point. One, Drew Brees wanted to come to Miami. Two, Nick Saban, wanted Drew Brees in Miami. Three, somebody else, specifically a doctor, kept me from signing Drew Brees. And now four, this is the news that Saban broke with his most recent comments. Once we didn't get Drew Brees, I decided I'm getting out of here. We're not going to be able to win without a quarterback. We were 9-7 and on the brink of the playoffs without a good quarterback. We get Drew Brees, we go over the top. And the moment we didn't get Drew Brees, I realized this isn't for me. I don't buy it. I think what Nick Saban wants to do, he wants to rectify his failed NFL head coaching career with the very basic and simple argument, if they had just listened to me and signed Drew Brees, we would have become the team since 2006 that the Saints became. Now, my first problem with that is it really undermines the work that Sean Payton did as coach of the Saints to get the most out of Drew Brees. Brees was part of it. Payton was part of it. If Brees goes to Miami and plays for Saban, who's a defensive coach, who's going to get the most out of Drew Brees? Is it going to work in Miami the way it worked in New Orleans? Saban just wants to assume that Drew Brees, wherever he would have landed as of 2006, is going to unlock all of these achievements and performances that made him one of the great quarterbacks of all time. I don't know that it's automatic. Now maybe it would have happened everywhere else, but I think we can't underestimate the contribution to Brees' career that came from Sean Payton and how those two together created a magical outcome that caused sustained success in New Orleans pretty much constantly since 2006, with the exception of 2012, the Bountygate year, and then the effort to rebuild the defense after the Bountygate year. They were still competitive offensively, even when their defense was horrible. Once the defense caught up, you see what they've done every year since 2017. 2017, 18, 19, 20, great teams in the regular season. But for bad calls, bad breaks, bad whatever, may have been back to another Super Bowl. And that doesn't mean the Dolphins would have become that, and that Saban would have been happy in Miami and would have been content to stay there year after year. I think that in lieu of going back to the NFL and proving that he could thrive at that level, he just wants people to conclude, oh, Nick would have been good. Nick would have won a Super Bowl. He doesn't have to go back and win one. Enough people are going to believe Nick would have won one. My other concern is this. And it's funny to me that, Nick Saban, a guy who always has to control all aspects of a football program, is willing to create the impression that he really didn't control the Miami Dolphins when we all know that he did. The idea that one doctor said, we can't sign Drew Brees, and that Nick Saban didn't have the power or the ability to overcome that doctor's opinion tells me that Nick Saban agreed with it. Because if Nick Saban wanted Drew Brees there, Drew Brees would have been there. Nick Saban said yesterday that Dr. James Andrews, who performed the operation on Drew Brees' shoulder, said that he should be fine. Okay, if you've got some sort of an internal thing and you don't inherently have the power to tell the doctor who said we can't sign Drew Brees, sit down and shut up. You're not paid for your opinions on personnel matters. We'll go forward. Thank you for your medical advice, but we know what we're doing. If he isn't able to do that, at a minimum, what you do is you go to Wayne Huizenga, who was the owner of the team at the time, and you bring Dr. James Andrews to Miami, and you have Andrews explain to Huizenga why Andrews thinks that Brees will be fine. Because whoever the doctor is that said no, chances are Wayne Huizenga is going to listen to Dr. James Andrews and say yes. And at the end of the day, I don't think there's any dispute. Huizenga is the ultimate authority. And if you throw on top of it Saban's position, assuming that what he said yesterday is true, that when they didn't sign Brees, that's when he decided, I'm getting out of here. Well, if Saban had said to Wayne Huizenga, look, Wayne, I feel very strongly about this. We need Drew Brees. I'm willing to take the risk. James Andrews tells me he's going to be fine. And let me tell you this, if we don't get Drew Brees, I'm leaving after this year. This is it for me. I mean, if Wayne Huizenga knew that, of course he's going to sign Drew Brees. Of course it's going to happen because they still got a quarterback. They traded a second-round pick for Dante Culpepper. They decided to take the guy who was coming off of the serious knee injury and give up a second-round pick over the guy who was coming off of the shoulder injury, serious, but still rehabbing just like Culpepper was. They could have had Brees for no second-round pick. He was a free agent. They made that decision. And the idea that Nick Saban was just a bystander while somebody else controlled the decision, I reject that. It goes against everything we've ever known about Nick Saban. He's not going to take that. If he wants Brees, he's getting Brees. And people ask, why do you keep talking about it? Because Saban keeps talking about it. And the problem is, no one's in a position to call him out about it at Alabama because they don't care. It's 15 years ago. But as long as he keeps talking about it, I'm going to be here to scrutinize what he has to say and give you, the audience, the real truth. And the real truth is Saban could have had Brees. And I think Saban still would have left Miami anyway, possibly after the 2006 season when Alabama came calling, because, of course, I'm not going to be the Alabama coach, which is what Saban said a few days before taking the job.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.